What's up everyone? Welcome to Homebrew Subaru. I know it's been a little while since I've made a video. I've just been so busy adventuring, camping, exploring with the Forester, really putting it through its paces. Now the last time I was out, I ran into a bunch of mishaps and it's come time I have to take care of them. Now these clips will give you a little better idea of what I'm talking about. Here I'm out and probably 20 kilometers out into the bush and I just hit a really good bump in the road. Driving a little bit afterwards, I don't know, I started to hear a little bit of noise, but I wasn't really too concerned until I started to smell rubber. I got out to kind of see what's going on. To find here on the right rear corner, I am running on a flat. Actually, the tire is pretty warm just from rolling on it. I don't know how damaged it might be, but I'm gonna let it cool off, get ready to jack it up, see what's going on with it, see if it's something I can fix here. If not, I might be loading on the undersized spare. So I've got the tire off. I mean, I am prepared enough to do something with the tire. I've even got a tire repair kit, my air pump out. I started giving it in some air and I wasn't hearing anything and I wasn't really feeling any pressure build up. And now that I kind of look from the other side, there is not one, but two gaping holes in the tire. So I'm gonna have to load on my spare. Now it is a full-size spare for a stock setup. It's not the same size as what I have on here, but being on the rear, it'll be open diff. All right, so it's about half an hour later. I've got the tire all changed out with the spare. Now this is like a brand new spare tire. It was a full-size spare back in like 2004. The Yokohama Geolander that the Forester would have came with. It does look like it's a little bit low, and I tried putting my compressor to it to pump it up, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like my compressor's making a connection with the valve. So I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on it until I get out of here, and then when I just drive out of the woods here, I should be able to hit a gas station pretty quick and get it topped up before heading home. That just goes to show that can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime, even me, 25 kilometers out in the woods of northern British Columbia. Now this side of the Forester is usually where I load and unload the kayak, and it kind of sits and rests up on this bar, and then I can lift it from the ground and hoist it up. And unfortunately what happened is I had the kayak a bit on an angle like this, and when I lifted the bottom, the top of it swung over and boof, took my mirror right off. So I mean, shit happens. I do not actually have a spare mirror, but I should be able to figure out something. I don't know, maybe I can repair the old one. So realistically, it's nothing serious, and I already have a tire on order, but I have noticed when I was changing this wheel that for whatever reason, that hub nut has backed off slightly. And well, I know I had that sort of thing happening to the other side when I was getting rocks coming in through the backing plate, but I'm gonna have to check both sides again. Now for the driver's side mirror, the only real damage that happened was the mirror. There's a tiny little ding in the door here and some marking on the door. I should be able to get that out. But it was the actual fastened nuts inside the mirror that kind of pulled out, and then it broke that little plastic post. I'm debating whether I can fix this, and we're certainly going to try. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have the tools to take the door panel off, so I ended up just taking my camp knife and cutting the wiring to the mirror. So if I want to reuse it, it's going to have to be repaired as well. Well, that was quite the coincidence. Here I'm filming these clips. I got a knock at the door and boom, it's the tire I've been waiting on. Now this is a little different branded tire and there is a reason for that, but I'll kind of discuss that after I get it mounted. But before that happens, the Forester needs a desperate wash. It actually hasn't been washed since before I painted the front of it black, believe it or not. We just get so much rain here that usually when I come down the highway, it gets a pretty good wash all on its own. I did notice when putting the spare on that the dirt and mud has really started to accumulate everywhere, and it's time this thing gets a good spray down. So we'll go give this thing a good wash and get this tire mounted onto the rim. turned out pretty decent. The front wheels got a little bit of the brake dust kind of built up onto them. I should try and scrub that out a little bit more. But yeah, it's finally nice to actually have it washed up. Should help keep some of the dirt off the floor of the garage anyway. I got that tire all mounted up onto the wheel, ready to get that installed. This is a Nexen Rodian ATX in the same size, 215/70/16. I just could not source the Cooper Discoverer AT3s at this time of year. I'm sure if I waited another month leading into the fall, I would probably find a replacement tire, but I decided to go with this cheap Nexen. And the other tires have about 15,000 kilometers, and putting this guy on, I'm sure he'll wear out at kind of the same period, and the tread pattern is quite similar to the Discoverer. I certainly don't recommend putting an off-branded tire on with a bunch of other tires. All the tires should be the same brand, the same tread pattern. I'm just in a situation where I don't want to buy 4 brand new tires because the tires are on it are still relatively new, and well, I couldn't get one, so this is what I'm doing. And this will give you a really good idea of the size difference between the stock tire on the left and the oversized tire on the right. And just having a look at the sides here, you can see how much taller that rear tire actually is. It's probably about 2 inches taller. I would say it must be giving about an inch lift overall. And there, I've got the wheel all torqued back on. I went ahead and torqued that axle nut back up to 140 foot-pounds. It's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on. And I think when I come in for winter service or do some maintenance before the winter, I'll go ahead and double check both sides and just make sure they're staying put. This tire does actually start out a pretty deep tread, 13-30 seconds. I'm thinking my other tires probably started out at about 12. I've gone around and measured them. They're between 9 and 10-30 seconds, the 3 of them. And this one's starting out at 13-30 seconds. We'll see how it kind of planes out over the next little while. But I mean, one trip down the trail and you're not even going to recognize that this is a different tire. Like I showed in the clip earlier with me changing the tire, I had hooked up this air pump to put a little bit more pressure into that spare, and it just wouldn't put any air in. It wasn't showing anything on the gauge. I've tested it since, and it is definitely garbage. This one here, I've actually owned since I was like 21 or 22. I bought it because I had a leaking tire and I couldn't get it fixed at the time, so I just bought this to keep it topped up. It's got to be 25 years old. I've double checked it because I usually keep this one in the car, but it's a good working condition. So I'm going to keep this one in the Forester for now, and then at some point when one goes on sale, I'll just pick up another one. All right, so now that I've got this all sorted, I'm going to turn the Forester around and see if I can't homebrew the shit out of that mirror. Initially at camp, when the mirror got knocked off, I just assumed I was going to have to replace it. And then when I thought afterwards, I was like, well, the housing didn't actually get broken. The glass didn't actually get broken. It's just those posts that kind of got pulled out of the end here. And of course, me cutting the wiring. And I've dealt with these style posts or nut certs before. They're the same style that they use in the handles. If I hold on to these with some vice grips, I should be able to crack the bolt on the other side loose and at least get them to unthread from these, sink these back into the mirror, and get things to tighten up afterwards. This front one, however, is made of plastic. It's got a little nut cert on the inside of it. Get that attached to the mirror and then get it all fastened up might be a little bit more difficult, but it's something I'm willing to try just to save myself from buying a whole mirror that might get knocked off a second time. All right, moving forward, I'm going to be a little bit more confident in this repair. I've got all the hardware off the door, and as you can see, these little pieces, they got like that knurl to them. It's kind of a little out of focus there. But all it really does is press into the plastic housing here. So I don't know if these were like heated and then pressed into place originally, and that's kind of what seated them in there. But even going to push it in there, like I'd almost have to tap it in with a hammer. And could you leave it like that? Well, possibly. But I'm going to take it one more step. I'm going to mix up a little JB Weld and just put it on that on the knurl. And then when I press it in there, I'll leave it sit overnight, and that should get it to fasten up really well. The post, however, is going to be a little bit more fragile, and all I'm going to do is use some JB Weld and kind of pull it up in there, sit this in place, and I might have to add a little bit more up on top to kind of reinforce it. But all that's really holding these on are these little pan screws, and I didn't realize that they were so small. So there won't be a lot of torque to holding this on, and the 3 of them all together, I think I'm going to have it good and repaired. The wiring, as you can see, I've already got it soldered back together. I've got a little bit of shrink tubing on there. I'm just going to put that over top. And I mean, the wiring is a little bit longer than it needs to be, so if you lose a little bit, not too big of a deal. I'll get this all cleaned up. I'll get these fastened in, let them sit overnight, and we'll check to see what it looks like in the morning. Well, it's the following morning, and if we take a look at my repair, oh yeah, that's rock solid. So in order to get this piece back on, it was like a tube, and I really sunk the JB weld up inside the tube, and then when I sat it down, I just figured it would kind of run down back out of the tube, and then I layered it all around and got as much surface area as I could to kind of build it up. And it's so strong, it actually might, if this happens a second time, it just might just break this whole piece off, who knows. And then I got a little bit around those and actually had to tap them back in with the hammer a little bit, so that's how tight they are. I think this is going to be 100% actually. And there, that made for one quick, easy, and very cheap repair. Just a quick squirt of JB weld, letting it sit overnight, and that thing is solid, like it's on there. If the kayak hits it a second time though, I think it may actually break something really good. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I'll have to try and, keep this one on there. It's really because Subaru's using the same style nutserts that they use on the door handles. If you go back to one of my older videos of the WRX, I was painting the door handles and I couldn't get the bolts to loosen. It's because the nutsert was actually turning in the door handle. And so anyways, I got them separated, I got them finally apart, and that's what I used. I used either this JB weld or a 2-part epoxy to press those back into the handle. They're still on the car. It's been like, I don't know, almost 3 years or something, or maybe longer than that. So I know this is going to be an awesome repair. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.